Oh, I forgot I messed up. You'll pay for this, Captain Planet. You can be one too, because saving our planet is the thing to do. Looting and polluting is not the way. Hear what Captain Planet has to say. Good morning, Matt the Visionary. The power is yours. So I just watched. I'm not at all embarrassed. I watch cartoons all day. But I just flipped this one on, and it was at the end. And you know how at the end of Captain Planet, they have like the message, you know, don't do this, don't do that. So this time, they were saying that the planet has, she said, do you know that the planet has almost 5 billion people? And is increasing by 90 million people every year. Kind of strange considering we're, you know, they say we're 8 billion people now. So this is from the 90s. So would that 90 million people every year? I mean, I'm sure that's from like 94 or 5 or something. I need the phone! Yeah, it just makes you wonder. Well, the funny thing is, I need that.
Can I please finish what I have to do?
What do you have to do?
Win one more match.
Yes. Let me know. Rich and Morty. No, never. Rick and Morty, no. But this episode said, you know, there's 5 billion people on this planet, and every year there's, you know, a bunch more, blah, blah, blah. And then they said that, so when you have a family, make sure you keep it small. Literally, Captain Planet was telling everybody to not have kids, to not have multiple kids, which is a good lesson. It's just strange to see that, you know, today people would sort of get mad about that. But I'm overwhelmed by all this. What am I, hang on a second. Actually, sorry, I had to share the video. Sharing it on Facebook, trying to get the people that talk shit to come on here. You know, I saw this one dude post about how Muslims, you know, Christians are responsible for everything, and Christians did this. Christians are the KKK. Christians were MAGA. Christians were, you know, Holocaust, whatever. And it's and I'm always amazed at how stupid Christians and Muslims are. Right? I mean, look, we have the same dumb trolls that are here every other day because they hate me so much. You know, I try to like think of other things to talk about and how can we, you know, this, that, but there's only one thing to talk about. You're not fooling anyone. Legit, wait them in the morning. Wait them. Thanks for proving how stupid how stupid you are. I don't know. I just don't see the point in talking about anything else anymore. The truth is, so coffee. Jesus. The truth is, it's all just bullshit. It really is all Israeli bullshit. You know, why are we not? Everything else is this huge distraction. I mean, I just think about like, even it sucks because it's even like the things that are fascinating to me, like the catacombs and the, you know, just all of it, the whole Tartaria narrative. Man, I really like the Tartaria narrative, and I really love discussing it. And what? And would love to get into it more, but it's distraction. It really doesn't matter what we talk about because they control it.
Needs to stay in the case.
They control Belge what we talk about. The catacombs aren't just in France. The catacombs are in every city that you live in. Every city around the world has incredible catacombs in it, lined with bones of thousands and thousands of people. It doesn't matter what city you look at, there are catacombs. I know, I've been drinking it the whole time. Look at how the dumb troll just acknowledged that they don't know about the catacombs. So they say stupid things, right? I know. They say stupid things, right? They say, oh, the catacombs. Yeah, because they don't know this. This is how people acknowledge how dumb they are. Whenever people, they want to be a part of something, but they're not smart enough to, and they have no decorum or class, they just start saying nonsense. But the whole catacombs thing, it answers the questions, actually. It answers where everybody went. I want you guys to see something. This was really eye-opening to me. So one day, let's see, where did all the bodies go after battles? Okay. So this is one of the most telling videos I can show you, right? Because this is brought to us by a channel called Today I Found Out, which is a channel that has prestige and has, people are like, whoa, they know what they're talking about. And one day, I'd been asking this question for a while before this, right? I'd been pointing out that I don't believe the narrative we're given. I had started questioning the narrative long before I discovered Tartaria. I'd been saying for years that I don't believe in the slavery narrative and the Native American genocide narrative, right? I've been pointing these things out, and it's crazy how the narrative has sort of answered itself, right? But one day, YouTube just suggested to me that I watch a video by this channel. Now, what would you say this guy is? Would you say he's Chinese?
Yes.
Or Native American? Or a black guy? Or a Christian? Or a Muslim? Or what would you say this guy is? He looks very identifiable, don't you think? Right? So I'm asking these questions on my live feed, on my Facebook feed at the time. And did you get them breakfast? I figured you would, but you're gonna have to go make breakfast. Probably hungry. Today it wasn't today. This is when I got this. This was 6 years ago, because when I got it, it was brand new. It had just dropped. I don't know why YouTube would suggest I watch this. I never watched this channel. So we're gonna watch This is an 11-minute video, and we're gonna watch just the first minute of it because I think that's all that matters, right? So the title of the video is "What Happened to Dead Bodies After Big Battles Throughout History," and this is super important. Okay, watch this.
This episode is made possible by the realistic online game War Thunder. Check out this game through the link in the description below. Go through that link, and not only do you support this show, but you get a free premium tank or aircraft and 3 days of premium time as a bonus.
So, first and foremost, this video starts with a built-in commercial, not only like propagating war, right? But also the idea of, you know, the brain dead cell phone. Don't use your cell phone to learn things. Use your cell phone to play this war simulation game. And just in case it's not good enough, we'll give you a free tank, a free special tank, just for saying that you had been here. Where'd it go? The toilet paper? There it is. That you had, you get this special tank. So right off the bat, there is war propaganda. There is brain dead cell phone propaganda. And, it's given to us by the Jays. Now, there's a lot of you that are just going to skip over that, right?
Yada yada.
Yada yada. Why don't they just get to the video? The fact is, it's a built-in commercial. Gotta love the videos with the built-in commercials. But this is of all things that it could have been, it just happens to be this. I'm sure I'm just exaggerating. I'm sure I'm just foolish, right? I mean, there's a bunch of know-it-alls on here, so hopefully a bunch of know-it-alls will learn something, because I'm not telling you this. This is going to be some dumb J on some dumb J network that you accept as being a source of information. They have 3+ million subscribers. They're allowed to have 3 million subscribers. And this video is 6 years old. Hang on a second. So it has 7.1 million views. 7.1 million people have seen this, and I'd say a good 15 are me. But I only need to watch the first, we'll say, minute and 25 seconds. And you're going to say, what? What are you talking about? See, you're stupid because you don't give it the full chance. And you're a hypocrite. You're always telling people to watch things. And right? I know what you're going to say. This ain't my first rodeo. Okay. Today I found out. Wait. Today I found out, what it say? Feed your brain? Is that what it said?
You get a free premium tank or aircraft.
Free premium tank or aircraft. And free premium time. They're giving you free stuff. Today I found out.com. Feed your brain. Looks like your brain is in a fucking target, right? In a reticle, isn't that what they're called? I don't know what they're called. But in the crosshairs. Isn't that weird how looks like brainstem kind of stuff is in the crosshairs is their logo. That's interesting. I'm sure I'm just...
Because today we're answering a viewer question because Jen M asks us, what did they do with all
Jen
dead
M.
bodies after huge...
His name is Simon Whistler, just in case you had any doubt what he is. His name is Simon. My name is Simon, and I like to do drill rings. Mike Myers. Yeah, he's a J. All right.
In history.
Jen M.
We know
asked.
that even Neanderthals would bury their dead, even including objects with the bodies, and various human hunter-gatherer groups likewise used to bury or cremate people at specific sites that functioned as sort of pilgrimage locations for these nomads. It should come as no surprise that since the dawn of known warfare, soldiers have pondered the question of what to do with the bodies of their fallen comrades and enemies.
All right, so we're at 46 seconds. And he just laid out the premise for you, right? Soldiers have wondered. And of course, they tell us that they find Neanderthal sites all the time. He's setting the premise, right? Well, we find Neanderthal sites and we find even as old as the Neanderthal that they find, because he's going to answer for why we're told we find stuff all the time. We found way old stuff. You know, Neanderthal stuff is way old. So there's your setup, and then look at the cute little drawing. Simon and his drawings, right? The caveman, right?
So, what did various groups throughout history actually do about this? A thing we should know before we continue is that there is a definite gap in the memory of history in regards to this one specific matter, and historians only have sparse reports of what happened to the dead of many groups after battles. You might think that solving this problem would simply be a matter of locating famous battle sites and doing some digging to glean a little more insight, but it turns out even this is notoriously difficult, as we're going to get into shortly.
That's all I needed to see. Did you guys hear what he said?
What did various groups throughout history actually do about this? A thing we should know before we continue is that there is a definite gap in the memory of history in regards to this one specific matter, and historians only have sparse reports of what happened to the dead of many groups after battles. You might think that solving this problem would simply be a matter of locating famous battle sites and doing some digging to glean a little more insight, but it turns out even this is notoriously difficult, as we're going to get into shortly. That's
Okay.
Why would that be notoriously difficult?
Well, the first thing he says is everything in this video is going to be bullshit. First thing he says is there is a definite gap in the historical record when it comes to this one particular thing, which is literally the proof. When it comes to the proof aspect of the narrative, there's a gap in the historical memory. It's just a gap in the historical memory. Why would there be a gap in the historical memory? Is it because it's not true? It's like how when it comes to the going to the moon, right? The thing that they happened to lose was an entire room full of data, specifically the telemetry data, the data that showed the proof as to exactly how they traversed this great distance and then made it back. Look, there's a bong. You guys always say bongs. There's a bong. And that guy's dead, right? Aaron Carter? Isn't he dead?
Bones?
No. Oh, this is Rumspringa. Oh, look, there's lots of bongs. Oh, now.
She's not supposed to be doing that. She's in trouble.
Scripted by numerology astrology. Sure it is. Sure it is. The stars tell us things.
Cow.
But you don't understand that they're literally telling you there's a historical gap in the memory as to what they did with the proof that the narrative happened. And when you think about that's a huge statement. That's a huge idea. One of my favorite sort of narratives that they give us is the Gettysburg thing. Now, if you're an American, you've heard about the Gettysburg Address and Gettys and Gettys and Gettys and Gettys, right? So this is the official narrative. And again, it's like we just don't, we have such a TV, like a TV movie cinema mind. That's what Hollywoodism has done, is it's controlled our mind so that we just sort of think about things like the movies do. So we think about things like, you know, well, Gettysburg was the site of a battle. So at some point, somebody was deciding they were going to have the battle there, and then they flipped the scene, and we're at the battle time. Nobody asks, like, okay, so Gettysburg, I don't know if you guys knew this. I always thought Gettysburg was further south. It's actually in southern Pennsylvania. I didn't know that. But southern Pennsylvania in August, I believe. So it's like super fucking hot. Super hot and super humid. And what we're told is that, I mean, it's not like people, just the people that existed in that area were fighting. You know, the people were scarce everywhere, we're told. And especially in the South, I mean, if it's the North versus the South, but the battle takes place in southern Pennsylvania, that's nowhere near, you know, Maryland and Alabama and Georgia, all these places where you consider to be like the heart of the South of the Confederacy. Southern Pennsylvania is nowhere near that. So basically, and remember, only 1% of the population, again, everything I'm going to say is according to the narrative. Not saying I believe it. I'm just saying according to what we're told we have to know. So, according to the narrative, only 1% of the population was actually wealthy enough to own slaves. So somehow, these wealthy J assholes that ran the show, and I mean, again, if everybody else is living in mud huts and barely surviving, and then these people are living in these Victorian castle mansions and shit that we don't bother to explain how they got there, it's strange to think that they would be able to get the poor mountain people to just, you know, drop what they're doing. Now, again, think about this. Back in these days, the man was like the most important thing. The man had to get out there and till the fields. The man had to get out there and hunt. The man had to get, the woman took care of everything. I'm not diminishing the woman's work or anything, but I'm saying as far as like the narrative goes, the man was the man back then. So all these people, they they were somehow motivated before there were internets and televisions and even radios. I mean, well, I guess radio did exist a little bit. No telephones, no nothing. Somehow all of these mountain people tucked into the mountains and into the countrysides and all that, all the way, you know, tucked all away and shit. They were motivated to come fight and essentially die for this Confederacy that didn't really care about them. I mean, cared about them continuing to own slaves. That the rich, it's just like now, the rich getting the poor to fight each other, kill each other, for all we know, for entertainment, right? No, it's funny. Look, this is like history. This isn't even my own shit. This is history. And these stupid people, seriously, they still can't fucking, they don't know anything. Look at the trolls in the comment. They literally can't engage on anything other than, you know, a few pre-programmed points. But they just can't engage on anything because they just don't know anything. But anyway, so southern Pennsylvania, all the soldiers have to get there. And this is part of the thing that we just yada yada over it mentally all the time. To think about how a bunch of soldiers from South Carolina got together and marched all the way to southern Pennsylvania. All through the mountains and shit. I mean, we're talking about a pretty treacherous walk, to say the least. And yet, somehow, you know, soldiers from all over the place walked their happy asses, marched their happy asses up to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. You know, how did they eat? Where did they sleep? How did they, you know, where did they all get their uniforms from? Where did the training come from? Whatever. We don't get to know that stuff. They just walked their happy asses, you know, like the South Americans who were just on this side of the Panama Canal because they didn't want to explain how all those Venezuelans got across the Panama Canal. It was in November. Remember, they were saying that the Trump impeachment had to wrap up by Friday. Schumer kept saying the Trump impeachment has to wrap up by Friday. This has to be over by Friday. And like, why? What's the significance of that? Well, it's because Monday the news cycle was ready to run with the "we're being invaded by South Americans" story, and we were shown that all these South Americans in clean clothing were somehow walking from South America up to the United States. Where were they sleeping? What water were they drinking? What food were they eating? One time they showed us a guy was pushing another guy in a wheelchair. And then we were told at that time in November, don't worry, I know this looks bad, but they're still about a month out. They won't get to the United States for another month or so. This was on Monday. By Friday, we were seeing videos, cell phone videos, of, I guess, taken by the Mexicans, the South Americans that are breaking through the gate. They're taking their own cell phone video of them breaking in and then sending that video to the news so the news could use it, right? Because that makes sense, doesn't it? And they did this a week later. Less than a week later, they made it 1,000+ miles on foot. Oh, well, they were getting rides.
Where's the footage from them breaking out of all of their mental institutions and insane asylums?
Shh. So the idea of these long walks that people are doing, it's just we just accept it. We have like a movie mentality, like the Transformers, the logo comes in, and now we're like, oh, we're here now. Oh, they were down there and now they're here. Okay. So that same thing when it comes to Gettysburg. All of these different soldier groups have to converge on southern Pennsylvania so they could do the Battle of Gettysburg, right? And so, remember, they all have ammunition. They all have guns. They all have uniforms that fit them. How did the Confederacy provide all these uniforms and stuff? We don't know. But they all had uniforms. Remember, the South wore gray, while the North wore blue, navy. Thick wool coats and at least it's not the British, because the British, they wore bright red coats. Because when you're trying to do military, you want to, hey, shoot me right here, target on you, right? But so we're told that they all converge on Gettysburg. Now, the first day, there were as many as 20,000 losses in that battle on the first day. The battle was over 3 days. The first day was 20,000 losses. Now, when I was a kid, I think it was 8th grade, we were doing our normal month-long, the Jays are the victims and the war and the Civil, because we used to do the Civil War shit all the time, blah, blah, blah. I remember we were reading, the teacher was like, and here was a note that was found from one of the soldiers who had been shot and decided with his last breath he was going to write a love note to his wife. And they're always like super eloquent. All these fucking mountain people, they're not like, hey, Lou Lane, I done being shot and I'm going to die, because they all knew how to read and write. But it'll be like, my dearest beloved, I regret to inform you that I have been mortally wounded defending the honor of the Confederacy, and I shall not mourn, for I am honored to have died for the glory of the South. My only regret is that I will never see your pristine face again shining off the And you can even see he writes out the And I remember asking my teacher, like, how the fuck did how did that note get to whoever it needed to get to? How did we get all the little trinkets and trophies and shit from the wars? And my teacher told me that at nighttime, they had a truce. And what they would do at night is they would clear the battlefield. They would have a truce. And then the next day, so basically, by moonlight, and hopefully it was a full moon that night, by moonlight and torchlight, I guess, maybe some lanterns, I'm not really sure. They walked around in the pitch black. It's Pennsylvania, you know, back in the 1881 or whatever. I don't remember the date. It's 1860 to 1865, I think, is the lifespan of the Confederacy. 1861 to 1865. 4 years. It's only 4 years and they got their asses kicked. But but they went around this battlefield where there are dead bodies, 20,000 dead bodies. Blown to bits, guts all hanging out, fucking eyeballs blown out. Like, it's a brutal scene. And they were able to identify which ones were Confederates in the gray and which ones were the Yankees in the blue.
So, a ton of men are not colorblind to begin with, right? They say that. I don't remember what the statistic is, but a large majority of men are colorblind, especially between blues and grays. So the fact,
especially between blues and grays in the middle of the night by
green,
firelight.
Blue, gray, and green are all the same color to the colorblind. So now you have colorblind men with rifles shooting at.
No, they're not. This is at nighttime. There's the truce.
Yeah, but
so they're cleaning up the battlefield. They somehow removed 20,000 bodies from the battlefield. Like, we're just yada yadaing over how difficult that would be. And so, again, these guys marched into Gettysburg. They then have the battle that lasts all day, killing 20,000. They then stay up all night clearing the battlefield. They then, the next day, get into another battle where around 8,000 losses were taken, most of which were Confederate. They then clear the battlefield that night. Then they have the next day battle where about 2,000 people were killed. And that was the end of the battle. So over this 3-day period, these guys are marching. And remember, you know, anytime you see a uniform, right? It's not like it's a big 6-foot something guy. Every single one of these uniforms looked like they could fit my wife. Because I guess people were just that much smaller back then.
which is crazy because, like, the stories of my great grandpa, he was very tall. We haven't had very tall since him.
So now there's 30,000 dead bodies to do something with. Now there's not like, it's not like there's refrigeration cars or anything. It's not like there's, you know, roads, hearses, anything. Like, what do you do with 30,000 dead bodies just piled up in the southern Pennsylvania humid heat of summertime? The smell would be so atrocious. I don't know if you know what mammals do when they die, but they don't just like,
They leak.
well, they swell until the orifices leak. And then once the orifices leak, then it's just like, and just shit and piss and you know, bodily parts and all kinds just start coming out of the body in all the different places. So what did they do with that? Well, the narrative that we're given is that they took that 30,000 bodies and dug a bunch of individual shallow graves all over the area, where a year later they came back and dug everything up and transferred it over to Arlington or whatever fucking cemetery they could, whatever military cemetery they said they put him in. A year later, they came back and dug up a bunch of dead bodies. That's your narrative. Go tell me what I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm wrong. By all means, tell me how I'm wrong.
Just a big fat liar.
Tell me how any of that makes sense. And then, of course, all those people, they just marched on off to the next place so they could go get into another battle. This is the narrative that we're given. And if you accept that, I don't really know.
Okay, so you're in school. All the adults are around you are telling it's true. Like,
How
back
do
in the
you?
day, there's no internet.
How do you?
How do you not?
You have to.
Forced to, right?
You to get your paycheck, you have
How do you
to.
get the fuck out of that?
You know, your paycheck when you're a kid is grades. And if you don't get good grades, well, you lose your freedoms. You know, your parents take your shit away. You're not allowed to do whatever. You know, it's a negative. So you are encouraged to regurgitate without question. You know, I'm sure I got in some shit for asking the question I did. Oh, there was a truce, and you know, but I wasn't encouraged to ask more questions. It wasn't like I was allowed to be like, that sounds like bullshit. I had to go, okay.
Right.
Don't disrupt the class. Don't.
And that was in a progressive era. So the generations before you
Had no chance.
didn't even ask the question.
They had no chance.
Too scary.
That's why I tell you, us, like we're all supposed to believe that as we've progressed, we've gotten worse. That the previous generations were so much better than us, so much smarter than us, but they weren't. Your grandfather, even your parents, they're not smarter than you.
They knew things you didn't, but it's only because it was relative for the time and they needed to for whatever reason.
And they knew what they were told to. They didn't have the opportunity to second guess things and question things and research things. There was no internet for them to go look. You could go to the library, but good luck with that.
You listen and respect your elders. So they were also raised that way, which didn't help matters.
Right? Which is why there was such an alcohol problem and domestic abuse problem and all that shit. You know, I think the 50s and McCarthyism is like the pinnacle of what the system wants. They want us all out cutting our lawns or you know, the women out doing the wash on Saturday, the husbands coming home from church and doing the cutting the lawns on Sunday and hey Bill, hey Bill, hey Bill, hey Bill.
Absolutely.
They want us to be Pleasantville. And I think that was the pinnacle. I think that's where they had us. They had, you know, the men were all PTSD, shell shocked from war. The kids were all grown up in that society. Like we talk about how, you know, back in the day, the kids had all the freedom and they were out doing whatever. And that's because the moms were working because the dads were out fighting for bullshit wars or dead. Or locked in their room upstairs, fucking all fucked up. But understand, this is all Jay bullshit.
And all of it was created.
That's what I'm saying. That's where Hollywoodism comes into play. You still have to watch that. She still hasn't watched it. But if there's any piece of information, any video, any book, anything that you can read, I don't suggest, like, I think 200 Proofs The Earth is Not a Spinning Ball is a fantastic film. And I think you should watch it. But not first. I think you should take in all of the information you can. Loose Change, Obama Deception, Tonka Sheila, if you can find it. Like, there's all sorts of zeitgeists.
Okay, so that statement in and of itself, if you could find it, why wouldn't you be able to? That's fucked up, but why wouldn't you be able to? Like
Same reason you can't find 6 million lies.
So has it been scrubbed or renamed or what?
Who knows? I don't know. I don't look for this stuff anymore. I like I say, I think that these are all great places to get information. But I can tell you when Zeitgeist, like, I made my wife, we had a Zeitgeist group here in Michigan. You know, it was like after the second or the third one came out back in 2011 or some shit, because I think we had one kid at the time. And we were trying. And we went to this Zeitgeist meeting, and they were like, "Hey, did you see that one part of the movie that we all saw? Hey, did you see?" And they were like, that was all they wanted to do, was talk about,
Review the movie.
right, what it already was. And I made enemies because I stood up and I was like, "Hey, why don't we, like, do more? This is cool that we're all sitting here and talking about this, but it reminded me of the poetry circles where it was just all the same people over and over again. And what good does that do?" And I would have told you for the longest time that Zeitgeist was a great thing to watch. And I still think it's great to some degree. But it was in 2021 or 2020. I don't remember when Zeitgeist Part 4 finally dropped. I know I was super fucking excited. I couldn't wait to watch it. I was, it had to be 2021, 2020, so whatever. It had to be after 2020. And I was super excited. I was ready to watch it. And I turned it, popped it on, and I'm watching it, and about 10 minutes into it, I shut it off.
Okay, I've had enough.
Well, it was because everybody presenting was Jay. And I just...
How do you prevent disinformation when it's coming from the source?
Well, the thing is, at the end of the day, all of it. If you look at Alex Jones, how much shit does Alex Jones talk about Israel and the Jays? Alex Jones told a guy, when a guy was talking about, he called in, and he was talking about how Mossad did 9/11, and Alex, of course, wouldn't let him talk and interrupted him and said, wait, let me ask you this. Do you believe that the Jays should be removed? And the guy was like, yeah. And Alex said, well, I am Jay. Now, whether it's his wife or whatever, but Alex doesn't talk bad about Alex. When Alex Jones started sucking on the Trump teat, how did he keep any credibility? It's just, what?
Because when people find somebody they like, they want to continue to like.
Exactly.
So
But
they start giving them the excuses.
yep.
So they.
But I just don't understand how that excuse, like, Alex Jones was already given a bunch of excuses. To then now add the Trump thing to the scenario, and that seemed to be the direction that he was going. Like, it just does not compute. But yeah, Zeitgeist comes out and it's it's all Jays. And I just, that's the narrative the Jays want me to get. That's why that movie's allowed to exist. There's a movie called A Rich Man's Trick, and I think A Rich Man's Trick is fantastic. Everything from JFK to 9/11, it's called. And it's funny because in at one point in that video, it says everything you've seen online, everything that's allowed to get to you to the point where your dumbass, goyim ass knows about it, is there on purpose. The CIA, the FBI, they put these films out. They allow these films to go. But not this one you're watching, not our film, but every other film. And that was, it really dawned on me. And then, again, Rich Man's Trick talks about Israel's right to defend itself. Immediately, I'm done. I'm done. But when it comes to Hollywoodism, Hollywoodism isn't considered to be some sort of conspiracy video, right? Hollywoodism isn't considered to be a truth or flick or something. If I made Hollywoodism, if I was able to pool enough money together and hire a bunch of people of color, and we made Hollywoodism word for word, except for when they say we said they or them. That movie would get panned. That movie would get called all sorts of anti-Semitic this and anti-Semitism that, and how dare you generalize, and how dare you push such dangerous conspiracy tropes, and yada yada yada. The same dumb bullshit that they pull literally every chance they can get. Oh, that's a trope. That's a trope. You can't do that. That's a trope. And I when it comes to Hollywoodism, they make every aspect of that movie. They are. Yeah, look at that. No, let's reset because pedophiles kill yourself.